bringing the people behind our food to life.
So we are going to make a savory bread pudding today, and it is a perfect dish to make with leftover heels of bread. I don't know about you, but I end up with small pieces that don't make a good sandwich, a little small for some of the other things. And instead of getting rid of them, throwing them away, they make a wonderful main dish. And I think most people are more used to this kind of preparation as a brunch or a breakfast item, but for me it's really a perfect dinner. It's extremely kid-friendly. You can prepare it in the morning and just finish it and put it in the oven at night. And it's very simple to put together. And you can also, it's a good way of using up the leftover bread, and also a wonderful way of using a stray carrot you have in your fridge, and half a bunch of spinach, or a little bit of an onion. You really can use almost anything in it. It's extremely adaptable, and it makes wonderful leftovers. It's good at room temperature. It's good hot. It's kind of a workhorse in the kitchen, and it's delicious, which is always the first and most important thing in my book. So before we dice up this bread, the first thing we need to get started is the vegetables. And we are going to use, I had some carrots and some chard and a little onion. And this was one of those times when the chard stems, they're a little bit tougher, and sometimes you compost them or get rid of them. But in this case, actually, it's perfect to just dice them up and saute them with the onion. Soften them up a little bit before you add the chard, and they add a lot of flavor and color. So we're going to use the whole leaf and stem in this case. So I'm going to get ready and get those sauteing so we can move ahead with the custard. So now we're going to add our veggie mix, our diced carrots and onion, to a hot skillet that's been coated with a little bit of olive oil. We're going to stir that up nicely to get the oil to coat the veggies, and then we're going to cook that just for about 5 or 6 minutes until it's softened. Then we're going to add the chopped chard. And we might want to add a little splash of water right away and keep another one handy in case it sticks. And that just cooks for a few more minutes, maybe 3 or so, and then the veggies should all be tender and ready to be added to the mixture. Now we are going to dice up the bread, cube it, dice it. You can also tear it. It doesn't have to be precise. You don't want bread crumb size though. You want it, to have some substance so that there's some texture to the final dish. So with these heels, it's really much easier to cut along, not like you would cut a loaf, but the other way. So we're going to just get some, rough cubes here. And I've got 2 different kinds of bread. You can really use anything. You don't want to use really soft sandwich bread. That is just a little gummy for this preparation and doesn't work so well. So a heartier loaf with a good crust works well, and you don't need to take the crust off. I think it adds a nice texture and variation to the final dish. So, and I have a little bit of whole wheat and some white. You also don't want to use a really, really dense loaf. So most sandwichy, crusty bread will serve you very well. Do a little bit more here. And this is another, it's very adaptable in the sense of quantities. You could go heavier on egg and milk if you don't have a whole lot of bread, or the other way around and have a breadier version. So it's a dish that's so suitable to those times when you come home and you think, what am I going to make for dinner? And you don't have time to run to the store. But you have some bread, you have some eggs, some really basic pantry items you can throw together for this dish, and almost guaranteed success. So we're looking for about 5 or 6 cups, which I'm going to eyeball. I think this is going to turn out just about right. Now we are going to make what's called the custard, which is just simply eggs and milk. And you might be more familiar with something called a strata, which is very similar to this, but it often uses cream instead of the milk and lots of cheese. This is really a lighter version and one that's not layered, and just a little less formal, a little quicker version of it. Those beautiful eggs. So we're just going to whisk these with some milk, some salt and pepper, some herbs, kind of brighten things up. Give these a little whisk. That's good. You don't need to work them too hard. And our milk. I tend to like to use whole milk in my cooking, but you're welcome to use 2%. If you have skim milk, doesn't work so well for most cooking. It just doesn't quite have the richness, doesn't give you the texture and the taste that you want in something like this. So I would say whole milk or 2% would be great. And if you want to put some cream in or half and half, it certainly won't be any worse for wear. So now we're just going to season this with nice freshly ground black pepper. I'm a fan of pepper, so I'm generous with that. Some salt. And this is a dish you really want to salt well in the moment because it'll be hard to adjust at the time. You can add a little at the end, but it's good to season it well. So some salt. And fresh herbs are an awfully nice thing to add at this point. You don't need to. We have a bunch of vegetables going in as well, but I always have parsley around or chives, and those are two of my favorite things for this. So I'm going to go ahead and add some parsley. And I didn't have any chives, but I had a little bit of green onion. I had one green onion left. So again, don't have chives, don't worry about it. Green onion's great. Don't have either, throw in some extra chard or not. So now we've got our herbs. Oops. And now a little bit of cheese. This is a sharp cheddar. I think cheese, cheese is always good, but just a little bit, give it a little more richness. And now we're going to put in our bread. And now up until this point, this you can all do in the morning. Let's say you have a few extra minutes, when you're making breakfast. You could assemble this and just put it in the fridge. And you'd be ready to go in the evening. And all you'd have to do is add your vegetables and pop it in the oven. So here is our custard. And if you let it soak, there's a big piece. I'm going to break that down a little bit more. So there we go. There's our custard. And now I'm going to check on the vegetables and get those. And that's all we have to do is add those and put them in the dish, and off it goes in the oven. Here are our beautifully sauteed and now softened and sweet vegetables. We're going to add those in. Look at all that amazing vegetable matter we're getting into one simple dish, which really turns this into a one-dish meal, in that we have all the components. And you could certainly, if you've got meat lovers and at your table, you could certainly saute some sausage or cook some sausage with those vegetables and add that, or you could throw in some leftover chicken. You really could do any number of things here. Now, here we go. Our savory bread pudding. Just gonna get a tiny bit more cheese. I'm going to use a harder grating cheese, a sort of Parmesan-like cheese on top of that. And there we go. And now we're going to take that and put that in the oven. And we have our finished savory bread pudding. It's nice and crispy and brown. And now we're going to plate this up, and you can see all the vegetables in there, the bread. So this really is a one-dish meal. If you have time, you could make a little salad to go with it, which would be pretty. But as is, it really is, it's very complete. Oh, and the edges are so nice and crisp. You can see all the carrots and the chard. And again, if you don't have chard, you could use kale, you could use spinach. You really can use any kind of vegetable you'd like in this. So I am eager to give this a taste and see how it turned out.
And I told him what I wanted to do, and he said, bring us whatever you've got. We'll make it work.